It's about fairy tales, myths, and divine stories from around the world. World. It's very pretty, and as the title suggests, or the description right here, there's stories about a lot of countries, different countries. So let's take a look. I apologize for the background noise. precaution worked for 16 years until one day, while the king and queen were out, the princess found an old woman spinning wool in a forgotten part of the castle. Curious, the princess approached the spindle and accidentally pricked her finger. When the king and queen returned, she was already dead asleep. Sleepy. Saddened, the king and the queen ordered the princess be laid in the most beautiful bed in the tallest tower. Then the good fairies returned and put the whole castle to sleep and grew thorns and brambles all around to protect it. And so the castle and all its inhabitants lay dormant for 100 years until a curious young prince finally approached it. The prince had heard rumors of the sleeping princess, and he dared to paddle the brambles and scale the high walls all the way up to the princess in the tallest tower. The prince was mesmerized by her beauty, and with his kiss she awoke. They fell in love, and as they descended the stairs, the rest of the castle woke up too. They were soon wed, started a family together, and lived happily ever after. That's a cute little story. Fairy tale from Italy. Let's continue. Little Mermaid. Grain wife. This one looks kinda sad. So let's read it. Grain wife is from Japan and is a Japanese fairy tale. So another fairy tale. Alright. There once was a poor woodcutter who came across a beautiful crane caught in a hunter's trap. He felt sorry for the graceful bird, so he carefully set it free. Once released, the bird looked deep into the man's eyes before flying away. Days later, a lovely woman appeared at his door asking for shelter. She was so charming and beautiful that the man asked her to marry him. The mysterious woman readily agreed, for she had fallen in love with the man as well. A short time later they were married, but life was not easy. The man was still poor, and now he tried to work twice as hard to feed both himself and his beautiful wife. The woman saw this and offered to make fabric to sell. She asked only that her husband never come into the room while she worked. Confused, he agreed. A few days later, his wife, looking weak and tired, presented him with the most sumptuous fabric he had ever seen. He took the work to the market and sold it for a lot of money, which he was able to use to buy them many good things. From that day on, the couple lived well. The wife would retreat to her room and secretly work, emerging later looking a little more sickly, but with fabric even more beautiful than the last. The husband would take the fabric to the market and sell it for even higher prices. Higher prices, returning with goods and gifts that made him very wealthy. Though his life was easy, the man began to worry for his wife.